Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, I could barely even hold myself back. I cut off the intro video like 10 seconds early. I'm so ready to be here. Before I bring my friends on screen, though, I thought I want to give everybody one more reminder, and it's not the last, about Music and Sky Festival in SoCal coming up October 13th, that entire weekend. I will be there. It is being thrown by the Alpha Vedic mastermind Mike Winner. We're going to have so much fun. Soul Family Tribe reunion. There will be many healers, many alternative doctors outside of the mainstream system. Probably like your new best friends will all be there. So I would love it if you guys come. Check the link in the description to this episode for Music and Sky Festival, Cuyama Valley, California. It's going to be beautiful. And use the code CHANCE50 for $50 off your ticket. And now, for the reason you are all here, it is Wednesday night. We are vibing, we are ranting with James from Grounded Extracts. What's up, buddy? Welcome to the rant.
What's up, dude? I'm very happy to be here. I found the link.
Yeah, you did. All right, we're going to bring in Michelle. Michelle's healing home.
What's up, Michelle?
I'll unmute you there, darling. Oops, sorry, muted you back. Yeah, what's up, Michelle?
Good evening. Thank you for the invite. Super stoked to be here.
And I saved the tallest for last. We got Slick Dissident. What's up, buddy?
Woo!
Yes. So we're here. We are gathered together in the name of the supreme being of all creation to give thanks for our lives and for the opportunity to crush and be completely holy and healthy and wealthy. And the topic at hand, James, your Grounded Extract stuff. I know you're all about that life. You're all about helping others find that life. So I would love to hear some introduction about who you are. This is our first time getting to really interact like this. You know, tell us about everything. Yo, who are you? What do you do, buddy?
Oh man, I do a lot of stuff. I am living who I'm supposed to. I'm living my actual purpose, which is really cool. I'm an herbalist or herbologist and alchemist. My wife and I started our own herbal business after we started having children a few years ago and noticed, you know, if you buy Oragel for, you know, a baby that's teething, it's going to numb them, but it's also going to harden their gums. So it makes the teeth actually harder to go through. And you start finding these little things all throughout, you know, like everything that's on a shelf. It's almost at the point where it's like, are these people allowed to be on shelves if they don't have the poison? But you know, the biggest thing was like for my wife and I to take care of our children the best we could. You know, we always keep it simple, and that's what it is: take care of each other and love each other and just do the best we can. And despite what it looks like in the moment, despite everyone around you, you know, calling you this and calling you that, doesn't matter. And that's the whole test. So we started buying natural stuff, and then, you know, we were like impoverished for years. So, you know, we were going to food pantries and things like that. So I couldn't really afford like a bottle of elderberry syrup when my wife or children got sick. And then they got really sick at the end of 2019. And I believe, you know, astrological, you know, detox seasons, when you change into new eras, you know, yeah, some shit gets a little wonky. But anyways, we started making our own stuff because I couldn't afford it. And now, you know, we grow stuff. We've made friends with farmers all over the country, really. And we make our own stuff. And most of it we don't grow, but we just moved to a new location. So next year we set it up so we have enough space to grow, hopefully, the amount of herbs and stuff that we use on a regular basis. So next year will be the trial run. But man, I got a long story. It's just I was on drugs for years. I was always like secretly obsessed with the idea of drugs, that something could change your consciousness just in general. Like I was very much against drugs, because I just didn't see the need for it. I always thought like, well, if I wasn't born into the world with it, why do I need it now? But you could say that about this cup of coffee. You could say that about the shirt I'm wearing. So, when I did it to help my stomach. I had severe, like I got bullied really bad in middle school. And then I developed some type of like tightening where I couldn't stand up straight. I would like walk hunched over all the time. If I got stressed out or, got in a fight with someone or whatever, it would instantly kick in and I had to like hunch over. And so
in the biofield, that root chakra, sacral chakra area, your root chakra, if you feel unsafe, it is going to affect that region. And it sounds like you're having a psychosomatic effect there. And then right connected to it in the gut of the intestines, you have sacral chakra energy where your self-esteem, your self-worth is entirely tied to that center. So if you're getting bullied and like your self-worth is hurting, you're going to, you're trying to protect that vulnerable spot.
Oh, you're so right. Yeah. Like that's why you don't sleep on your back, because the most vulnerable spot is right there, dude. That's such a good point.
Right. And let's not miss the fact that the word bully sounds like the word belly.
Oh shit.
Wow, dude. That's it.
All right. That was a great stream, you guys. Thanks for having me. That was awesome, bro.
I mean, when you use the word drugs too, I'm like, there are so many things that get called drugs. It's one of those talismanic words where it's like that word doesn't even tell you anything as a description because there's so many words that are falling into that word and things so in that words. Category.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, dude. I should preface that.
Sorry is a fucking board game. You should be sorry for saying sorry. I'm just kidding.
That was a dad joke.
Yeah, I do my best. That's a dad joke because I say it all the time. That's how you know it's a dad joke. Whenever everyone's already heard you say it, it's not even going to hit, and you just keep doing it.
And everyone's waiting for it, and it's like, but not in a good way, But shit, that was really good. But yeah, the belly bully, totally, dude. And that's and then you learn about your brain, being really not just this, but it's your entire being. But yeah, your intestines, your gut, and everything. That's where the good stuff is. So that's what you want to attack. That's where we take everything, and that's where it goes. It's like, man, it's a sacred place. But yeah, so I got into I started smoking cannabis because it was the last thing I would try. I went to doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor, and they kept giving me different forms of medication and shit. And it really had no effect. I thought it had no effect. But so I was just at the end of my rope, and my friend's like, dude, just try it. Just try it. It does help people with stomach issues. And so I tried it, dude, and I was more, and immediately, yeah, my stomach was better immediately, but I wasn't even thinking about my stomach because I couldn't believe that the creator put things here to make us feel a different way. And it's that simple. It's not like, oh, there's stuff that makes me feel great here. It's like, but it's just fascinating that things affect us in that way, and it's like, they're here for a reason, and yeah, so we're just trying to use them. And my main thing is I'm trying to offer alternatives to pharmaceuticals that aren't addictive and don't have side effects. So like, I don't think anything should be allowed to go out on the market if they have a list of side effects. Never mind like 3 side effects that are like, like horrible, like destroying your testosterone, making people so constipated they can't go to the bathroom more than once a month. Man, just like horrible. So this is how you know we're in the upside down, because you can open a pamphlet of their drugs and just see, it's just, especially like Suboxone and things like that, just the amount of like deadly side effects that it causes.
And they use another magic word. They say side effects, but it's just the fucking effects.
It's the effects.
They're not on the side. They are effects. There's nothing side about it.
And that's the whole thing. So that's it. And so with nature, if you put side by side allopathy, nature, man, chemical, natural, you can see from the natural if there's a side effect is because you used it wrong, most likely, and it'll be something very tolerable and very able to handle typically. Now, what we've noticed is instead we haven't gotten any side effects from people using things properly, but side success where it something great happen. If your drug doesn't have side success and people are like, oh, what's side success? Well, it means no side effects, and it means all these other unanticipated effects that are actually super good, super beneficial, and just super healing for you. It sounds too good to be true because of the shit we've been fed, but
I love that. Side success.
Now, Michelle,
Yes.
you were going to lay on some excitement and enthusiasm towards James here before we started recording. And I was like, wait.
Yeah, just to sing the praises a little bit. But it was like, I think maybe it was a year ago-ish, you were on Odin's Alchemy. And that was my first intro to you. And you guys had such a great conversation and you were so chill. And I just loved your perspective. I loved hearing your story and how you and your wife came to find these plants, these herbal remedies that are here for all of us. So when Chance, sent me a link today, I was like, yeah, yes. Because I just am super stoked to be around you and pick your brain and hear more of what you guys are doing and everything else. And
that means so much to me.
Yeah, man. You and Ben flowed really well. And I loved it too, because you guys went into like the cannabis and all of the just like holy anointing oils. And I love that stuff. And it's one of my favorite subjects to talk about as well.
Me too. It's an untapped potential of truther info.
It totally is.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And it's like, it is, cannabis for me too, since I was a young girl, has been a really near and dear ally for me, and still is. And so I just find anytime I hear people talking about it, and I love hearing people's journey, if it really helps them and they find this healing, this deep healing with it. So anyway,
exactly. Most people, they just completely miss everything you said and just hear you just told everyone to sit home and smoke 10 blunts a day and not go to work and eat Cheetos all day. That's just what you did. And that's not what she's doing at all. That's not what she's doing. We're saying use it properly. Don't use anything to excess to where you're making bad choices in life because of it, whether that's weed or whatever. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But no one has to come after the people smoking the plant in the woods. Like the fuck, like the vitriol towards like herb, is just, it's a weird thing. It's untapped.
Well, cannabis culture though has done a disservice.
Yes,
I say cannabis culture largely because of how it has been portrayed and marketed, if you will, as like the party, the safer party drug alternative. And don't get me wrong, having some cannabis with some friends and getting, going deep together, that is a beautiful experience. The type of connection and flow state that can ensue from that is awesome. But, a metaphor that I heard it described as once was that it's kind of like dark matter, but not, obviously we don't believe in dark matter, but as a metaphor, it is this fuel. It's like this pure yin, super feminine energy that if you don't actually have some way to channel that, or like you're using that fuel for a purpose, ceremony or creativity or whatever, and you just keep doing it,
no purpose. You're living no purpose. No purpose.
I think that there is a point where, it actually becomes not a service to you. And here's the best way that I could describe it. Because you're anything like that is really opening up chakras, if you use that, you're opening up to experience more deeply, right? And that can be a beautiful thing if you want to have that experience in a deeper, more connected, present way. But like for me, I worked at an office that I didn't want to work at for, like a decade, almost a decade, right? So I had this job I didn't want, and I couldn't figure out why I was stuck to it. And even though in the back of my mind, and then eventually I came across this exact teaching that I'm about to share, but that I was going to this job every day and thinking that I was coping with it by going high and smoking on my lunch break and all that. When in fact, what was happening was because I'm opening up to the experience more deeply, and I'm integrating the experience of this fluorescent overhead light and this,
Gross.
you know, working on the computer for something that I don't care about. I'm actually absorbing that experience. And you could consider anything psychoactive like that to be able to create strong anchoring reference points in your consciousness stream of your total life energy field, right? So if you're doing cannabis and you're doing it to cope with something that you don't want and don't like in your life, what's actually happening is the opposite, in my opinion, of what you think that you're achieving with it. You're anchoring yourself to that experience and integrating that experience into yourself more deeply.
Right.
And I only have my own personal subjective experience to go on. But when I stopped doing cannabis and going to that job, I no longer worked there in 3 or 4 months. But on the other hand, I did a lot of preliminary work to get myself out of that. And, you know, eventually, though, that was like one of the last keys that needed to be unlocking that door to get away, was that I needed to stop using it as a crutch like that. But in terms of why I started and how it changed my life, the mind opening effects were massive for me. And the stress relief, when I started it, it helped me lose a bunch of weight, which is the opposite of the stereotype. So, yeah, I mean, it's a powerful, amazing medicine.
It's case by case basis with everything. Every single thing is case by case basis. I've seen some people have really weird reactions to just herbs, and you know, not anything that couldn't be handled, but just not necessarily beneficial or functional for them. You know, it didn't suit them. You don't always need everything the dude next to you needs. You know, I thought Chance was going to say like his weed dealer was on the other cubicle on the other side of him. That's why he couldn't quit the job. That's why I couldn't quit my job, bro, because all my insurance, which is how I got Suboxone and Adderall and these benzos for you know, over a decade. You can't just turn that shit off. And it's going to take over a year to stop taking things like that. Like physically, like, I don't know if any of y'all know what physical drug withdrawal is like. I'm sure y'all do, because it's 2022. But it's you know, it's like the worst sickness you've ever had, but worse. And it's you know, hot cold, you know, you're throwing up, blah blah blah. Some people can, you know, act like, man, I eat that shit for breakfast. I've heard people say that, and I've watched the biggest, toughest looking dudes act like crying little bitches coming down from this shit. So I forget where I was going with this, but
I just want to say shout out to Baldy, who I've never seen anybody rip dabs like he does, and then go into a podcast and be a perfect articulating flow state master. That guy.
It's funny. The more access I have to things, the less I use things, you know, that too. It's like, it's the way you view things. You know, if you look at weed a certain way and you're just getting small amounts here and there, I almost think that's like worse, you know?
Hey, James, we had a comment here from Shalom Brother. I'm looking for a good detox protocol for reducing cannabis. Any good herbs or ideas? Before I kick that to you, I just want to say this is my personal experience, but what actually needed to be what I needed for the detox protocol, so to speak, is I don't really think cannabis is the thing to detox from itself, other than, you know, depending on the source, you may be ingesting pesticides and heavy metals and things like that. That's very possible. But for me, I actually needed to detox the people and situations that were stressful in my life to no longer feel the need to use it as the crutch that I did. But, you know,
100. I love what you're saying, because you're saying you're using cannabis to mask, to put a blindfold over yourself, to make it easier to deal with the horror that's like in front of you, but you're not dealing with it. So it just puts it to the side, and you just keep going along and trying to cope, but you're not dealing with it. You know, you're not leaving your job, you're not taking the next step. So it can be a speed bump, you know, for.
Yeah. And it's like one of those things that it's not necessarily this or that, they're reflections of each other. So in my personal experience, I do think that overuse of anything psychoactive is actually able to put holes in your arc field. The plasmic membrane of your field becomes more permeable, because that's actually what the psychoactive does. And, you know, another aspect of the cannabis that I would like to point out is that if you go a long time or longer between uses, that tolerance thing, it's more than just a chemical aspect. There's actually like because it is opening up, there's almost like a deflation effect, and that's part of what feels good. It's like going down a slide. And that doesn't necessarily have to lower your vibration per se, but there's like this thing with it where if you're at a higher vibration than the cannabis and then you use it, it kind of can bring you down rather than up. So
Sure.
It's an interesting medicine. And anyway,
it is interesting. Yes.
Yeah. I probably need to let you talk though.
No,
Maybe
dude,
Kramer.
I love this, man. But the question that they asked about, where they start, I agree. I don't think it's something where, where you need a full-blown Ibogaine sessions to scrub your receptors from all the THC. I don't think that is necessary. I'm sure it would work, but for some. And but overall, Best Earth is how I personally stopped doing a ton of different shit. Like smoking is my best example for it, because that's something that's so habit driven, and cannabis can become something like that. Anything can be, where you're just used to doing, people start injecting water after they quit heroin, or if they can't find it, just because they think they're getting something from that. I always thought that was retarded, but placebo effects don't work on me. But Best Earth, if you take 1 to 2 capsules in the morning, not if you do that, you shouldn't do that. If I take 1 to 2 capsules on an empty stomach in the morning, in the AM when I wake up, that I did, and I would do that for every day for different things. It took me different periods of time, but about a couple months it took me of taking it every day, 1 or 2 capsules. And this isn't something I birthed out of me. Like this is all the creator's creation. We're doing some spagyric work with and making blends that we've experimented over the past number of years to try to mitigate symptoms from certain drugs that you stop taking if you took them for a very long time. So that means, what are the most popular ones, right? So we can think uppers, downers, we can just go through the entire list. I want not a replacement, because that's like war words for pharmaceutical people. So I'm not trying to say I want to replace anyone or anything. However, I like options. So if I have options, Adderall or Best Earth, I like that I can look at the side effects of Adderall, and I can look at the side success of Best Earth and compare it with the reviews, from people that have actually taken it. And it's a good place to try. But what it did for me was it built up my willpower and your self-esteem, essentially, because at the same time, though, it humbles you. It has very similar alkaloids to what Ibogaine is made out of. But we've got other things in there, and the way it works together, it helped me, my wife, a ton of my family members get off OxyContin, amphetamines, like I said, cigarettes, cigars, and all of those things. I slowly stopped feeling the urge. It's the way Effexor is branded, the way they commercialize Effexor. They used to, before people started killing themselves and shit. But it's the way they branded that. If you take it every day for a certain period of time, you just slowly want to stop smoking. Well, I found that shit in Best Earth. That's I get excited when I talk about this stuff, because once you find like, oh, this worked for me, I can put this in that slot, that's reliable, okay, cool, I'll go back to that. And then 4 years later, I'm like, oh, dude, this is still crushing. And then life is like a completely different ball game. So Best Earth is the long answer.
That's cool. I'd like to try that out, just for all the other possible side successes that might ensue. The other thing about these addictive patterns in terms of our relationship to chemicals and things, or even cannabis or tobacco, which are in the right place, sacred medicines, is I think you want to look at the co-behaviors with it. A lot of the addiction isn't, it's obviously the habit in terms of something like smoking. You have this ritual, there's ritual to it, but there are other like cofactors, like what do you do while you're smoking the thing? Is that part of what you're addicted to as well? Is that it could changing that behavior that goes with it help you not do the other thing too? There's a lot of possibilities there.
Oh, 100%, dude. Yeah.
So I saw Kyle in the chat from Tippecanoe Herbs, and I wanted to shout him out because when he was on the Vibe Rant a couple weeks ago, I bought a young lung tincture from him. Had all kinds of good stuff in it, but he sent me plenty of extras, and I just really appreciate all that, including this is the first I've ever had a herbal tincture called after me. So he sent me this InnerVerse Garten variety here.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I wish we could see the label. My lighting's too strong.
Dang.
But let me
Yeah,
just
take a
tell
picture
you,
of that.
he says it says on the label. He even printed a label for it. Like,
Dude, he's crushing, bro.
dude, he crushed it. I love Kyle so much. Tippecanoeherbs.com. So he says the InnerVerse variety supporting synchronicity, awareness, and communication. And I think that it works.
What's in it?
So it's got Tulsi, Calamus, St.
Okay.
John's wort, Solomon's seal. And I've been wanting to try, in particular, St. John's wort. So with all of those things, I'd love to hear maybe Michelle and James, your thoughts on what those herbs together might magically do. One of the things in the note to me said that it had to do with, I think this is the St. John's wort, had to do with being able to hold and retain your inner light. And I love that. I love that. I feel like my aura is shinier from just like literally two drops is all you
Damn.
need.
Droppers
Super
or
potent.
drops?
Like drops off of the dropper, like just a little
Get
bit.
the fuck out.
Little
Wow.
bit. Dude,
That's what's up.
homie should be selling this in the shop. This is powerful magic right here.
I think I want
Yeah,
that,
so
dude.
Solomon's seal, St. John's wort, Calamus, and Tulsi. What do you think, Michelle?
Well, I think it's a great combo. The first thing that comes to mind with the St. John's wort too, it's like, so St. John's wort has in the leaf, there's these perforations. And if you hold it up to the sunlight, you'll see these little holes in it, and it's filled with the essential oil. And so I always look at the holes as like gateways into working through something, working with trauma. If you're wanting to like allow your light to shine, it's almost like those little holes to me signify this gateway that opens up the light, brings it in. And yeah, that's awesome. I remember Solomon's seal too. I've used it as a spine remedy. So like it can help you kind of like stand more upright. That's how I look at it too. I've used it for an injury, like a bicycle injury, used it to help like heal my back and my neck and stuff. Tulsi, freaking like holy basil, you know, it's super calming and very gentle. So yeah, that's a great blend. And yeah, I'll say shout out to Tippecanoe, because dude, they're doing great stuff, and you can feel the love and the energy. And Ben and I talked about this last night. You can, when people are making medicine or anything really for that matter, art, food, drinks, whatever, you
Small
can
batch.
feel when that stuff is on point, and the person who's making it has the love and has the intent and the knowledge, you feel all that stuff in there. And so it's really cool. And so, yeah, they're spot on, man. And I used, they have a magnesium spray that has like black pepper in it and a few other pain relief, arnica and stuff, because I got stung by a bee.
I love arnica. It smells so good.
It's so awesome, man. And I was just spraying this magnesium all over because I was all swollen and stuff, and it really helped. So everything I've ever gotten from there, yeah, super spot on. So bravo.
I loved what you and Ben were talking about was small batch versus mass produced, and how like no matter what, even if you have the same ratios of things, the small batch has more potency. So
yeah,
this must be super fucking potent because it's like just this bottle for me. And everyone talks about with Solomon how it has soul and moon in it. But you know, soul and mon. But when you really break it down, it's actually 3 names for the sun. And we know St. John's wort has a lot of like solar qualities. So I feel like as a Leo ascendant, there's so much tailored to me in this. I don't know much about Calamus, but Solomon, soul is the sun. Om is an old word for the sun as well. Om. And on, like the Egyptians would call it on. Heliopolis was called on. So yeah, it's a triple, thrice great, super solar.
Calamus was what they used to replace cannabis in the scriptures. That's what they used to swap out but it didn't match any of the descriptions. So that's how they started digging into that.
Interesting. And then to riff off of the drop doses are super powerful and potent, particularly when you're working with trauma or emotional stuff, I feel like. And sometimes taking one drop of something is more powerful than taking like a dropper full or whatever. I feel like because it touches you on more of an emotional level and more of a spiritual level, and it's almost like you're getting the essence of whatever you're taking a little bit more than just like this power hit of something to like maybe try and cover up pain or, something like that. That's just been my personal experience as well, like taking a drop of something and literally being so overwhelmed with like emotion or whatever's going on. There's something about that lightness, just like the flower or gem essences,
Yo, you're totally right. And the body reacts that way, just like you're saying with the batches, with the different big to small batches. It's like the body is a mirror of that for sure. And like kratom has the ohm in it, kratom, that I believe has a very specific purpose here. But I've noticed with that, less is more with that, and that's great for people that take kratom to hear that less is more. You get more out of it. Your body will be happier with you. You'll feel overall better if you're taking it because you don't feel good, in pain or motivation, whatever you're dealing with currently. It'll less is more. If you take less, it can have a powerful impact.
It's almost like you're signaling to the body, I know you're the one that heals, and I'm just setting my intention with this one drop to give you the info of like, this is what we want, rather than the belief that like the quantity and the material stuff itself is what's going to fix me. This external thing I'm putting in, I need more of it because I really need to fix this problem. I need it to do it for me, rather than like signaling your body, this is what we're doing. This is the intention we're setting, but I know you're the one doing it. So just a drop. Now, Gabriel, I know you want to get in on this.
I love that. That was great. That was awesome.
Yeah. This is a great riff. I believe I've heard offerings to goddesses described as and I think we're talking about Virgo, and I'm not exactly sure why I think of that, but I believe that some goddesses prefer purity over quantity, and so if you can make just a single droplet of an offering, then no matter how much work it takes to get it as pure as humanly possible, that is the perfect offering. And I think it is. I think it does have to do with Virgo.
I love what Kyle just dropped here. The Sanskrit name for calamus is vacha or vaka, which means voice, or rather sacred voice. Do you all know what the word for voice in Latin is? Vox. So you vacha, vox, vaca. I think that we're talking about the same people here. And actually from Dylan's work, I've been really powering through recording his 4th audiobook, God's Acre for Winds of the Soul, because I'm trying to get that done before he publishes book 5. He's on fire. He's about to have a 5th book, which would be 3 books published in 2022. Guy is crushing. So anyway, there's some awesome evidence. There it is. Definitions, book 1.
Yeah, book 1.
Everyone, Spirit World. Check out the Spirit World series. Link in my bios everywhere, every description. He's got some really awesome evidence in the 4th book, God's Acre, to show that it's very likely or possible that we have it backwards, that Sanskrit actually came from Greek rather than Greek from Sanskrit, which is fascinating. And it's because of the similarities between the Greek, the Hebrew, the Sanskrit, the Latin are so replete. Like, it's statistically impossible that they didn't come from the same place, but that Sanskrit is actually more complex. There are more letters and like more larger alphabet. It's a huge alphabet, actually. And that would make sense that it was perfected or added to rather than, taking things away is more likely in terms of the direction, but all of it's speculative. The point is that we're dealing with like one worldwide empire, most likely, or world spanning civilization or group of people that seeded the same mythology and the same language as like a trade and commerce language, probably. everywhere, and that's what's being covered up, and that's what is being called Tartaria and whatever. But I think it's like way older. What we're looking at here is way older. So yeah, that's a big tangent. But vaka for the sacred voice in Sanskrit, that makes perfect sense because Latin it's vox.
It does. And Best Earth has the similar extracts to Iboga itself. So that's got some extracts that are called Voacanga. So the Voac, the VOAC is kind of in that too. So I like that for the voice because, and the voice, it could also be inner voice too, you know, like, and that's what Best Earth helps out a lot is amping up your inner voice so you can choose to do what you want, right? Choose to do what you need over what you want. You know, we're usually doing what we want. You know, it's case minute to minute and impulsive, you know, decision to the next. But, you know, I'm really trying to get people. And then what's so cool is how many people stop buying Best Earth from us once they start. Like people, you know, because they're carrying shit over. It's a horrible business model, but it's, you know, we do have some customers that, you know, been shopping with us since the beginning, and I'm very grateful for them. Shit. I forgot where I was going.
Let's talk more about grounded extracts. This is a good time. I mean, you've brought up Best Earth. I screen shared that, but maybe there's some other history of getting off the ground that could be inspirational for people to hear about, or just talk about some more of the things you're currently offering.
Sure. Well, right now, the most work we're putting in is the addict consultations. So we're dealing with people that are, you know, trying to follow a similar story that I explained on Crow, just about how to get off and what I used to get off allopathic medicine. Now, it's not medicine, first of all. Second of all, it's not easy to talk to people about their issues and have them fully grasp what even situation they're in. So anytime I get someone who absolutely gets the full depth of what they're involved in, I get excited about it. And so it's not something that anyone should just jump into. We're very blunt and we ask questions, you know, and sorry, I had a sound issue. But
You're
yeah,
just too electric, man.
Dude, well, I got a cord that doesn't really work. Well, it's working now, but yeah, dude, it's just crazy working with the different people, and I've been able to research, like do my own research since the Crow episode, and kind of comparing successful, you know, Ibogaine journeys to unsuccessful, and what makes them successful and what makes them unsuccessful, and that's been really helpful in how to help people. And what's up? Oh, hold on one second. Yeah, come on. This is my wife, Najla.
Yes, I was hoping she'd come by. Yeah.
Hi, Jim.
Hang out with us. Yeah,
What's
if you
up,
want to hang
brother?
out, I want you here too.
Until a baby
Hi.
screams.
Yeah.
I'm so glad
Hi,
to meet you. I loved
President.
hearing
Hi,
you
Michelle.
talk on
You're
Crow.
so
Hey,
sweet.
He said,
nice to meet you.
Yeah, you guys both crushed on your Crow 777 episodes. I've wanted to talk to you since then. It's love your
Thank you
story.
so much. Yeah, man. Like, it's been a wild ride. It's been so great. Like, just like you guys were talking about cannabis earlier, we've actually helped people who, I'm so happy you shared your story, Chance, because there's some people where they're fostering negative habits with it and they need to stop that. And we've helped people by giving advice.
Yeah, our
by
friend
giving advice.
Our friend Rue stopped smoking nicotine and cannabis from taking
Yeah.
Best Earth.
Yeah, but like on the other side, I love how you we're focusing on like what habits does it create, because like you are fostering like a negative habit, and that's why when you kicked it you were able to like move forward, you guys are saying. But I like people to like really look at themselves as individuals too. Like all of our remedies, like James has literally created while partaking in cannabis, so it's like a great habit.
Hey, that's not. That's true.
Well, it's like everybody's different. So it's like, if you're doing great things, then, you know, keep doing those great things. I just think that that's like a very like case by case thing.
I
Well,
think
these
we're-
plants have a spirit to them, and so it's like with any other human being. No human being can hurt you other than based on your relationship and the posture you take to them, you know, and how they reflect with you based on that. So with the cannabis, it's your relationship to it. A lot, there could be a time in your life where it's healthy and fine to use it a lot, or you could be like Balderson and it's just you run on it like jet fuel, or you know, if you are living the life that you want to live and you're crushing, and that your relationship to it isn't in the way of that, that's great. It's just like I realized that my relationship to it was it was basically a reflect. I was treating it the way that I was being treated and allowing myself to be treated, in the sense of like almost like I was the psychic vampire to the cannabis that was the empath, because of the relationships that I was fostering in my life that were vampiric against me, that I was empathically allowing myself to take the victim posture to, if that makes sense.
You found out that somebody else was using you as weed.
Seriously, it's just like that. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
So-
you know, I was just thinking about the idea of your relationship with certain substances is in its own right can be like almost a season, you know.
Yo, that's so important. Keep going. Yep.
Yeah, I feel that a lot. Like, you know, I do you know, iced coffee in the summer,
Yeah.
and I do normal hot coffee in the winter. It's a bad example, but yeah.
The point is, I'm always on coffee.
Right. At the end of the day.
Yeah, an easy come, easy go, not too much attachment in all things. What were you going to say, James?
What you said is so important, because a lot of addicts you don't get out of your hell, because like Chance is saying, you just keep using the thing, you know. But Tally started freaking out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye, Nigel.
Bye.
Tell her to come back anytime that the kids are.
You
not
heard him.
rowdy.
All right. How you might have got, I don't know. But so yeah, just a lot of you know, they get down on themselves for doing what they're doing, you know. And at the end of the day, we all go through stages, we all go through phases, and when you can't see beyond what's right in front of you just that day, you kind of forget about regular life and normal bodily functions, and everything in your body forgets. And it's just man, it's so crazy. And I think if people went around just telling addicts like, yo, do this until you don't want to, until you're done. Like so many people never hear that. And it sounds weird at first, but if you just think about it, when you tell a child, don't touch that, they're gonna touch it, at least till they learn why they shouldn't. If you try to get a child to touch some shit, they're like, no, I don't want. Like, you know, if you try to get them to do something, it's I don't know. It's just it's very different than it's almost like giving permission. You're okay. Do whatever's gonna happen right now, because it just changes. I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but it changes your perspective on the hole that you're in. You feel like it's an eternal hole in hell that you're in, you know. So it just,
and a big part of that is the actual self-criticism, beating yourself up for continuing the habit, where
yes.
you really want to change that self-talk about what it is that you have chosen to do. Because at the end of the day, if you're here, if you're breathing, it's not too late. You're not, you're not damned. And so you shouldn't damn yourself in your mind.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I like this, where we're going with this, I like your point, Gabe, the seasonal thing, you know, because throughout my time of using cannabis, you know, there's been times where I haven't smoked for like 6 months because I'm so overwhelmed with something that usually I wasn't dealing with, you know, or I knew that I need to be real clear right now because I'm going through something that's so intense that if I bring the cannabis in, it's almost going to be so overwhelming that the emotions are going to take over to the point where, like you were saying, James, it's like I won't even be clear enough to be present in order to, actually do the work that I need to do. And a lot of it's always been emotional stuff, shadow work. When I'm going through shadowy times or whatever, cannabis is usually too much for me. It depends on what's going on, but usually it's just because it opens up this huge thing. It opens you up so wide. And especially if you're really sensitive or, super tapped into your intuition or whatever. It's
your
like
astrology. What's going on? Like, you got to read everyone's birth chart before you tell them to smoke a joint.
You want. Wait, what's going on in the stars? So that's funny. Yeah. So I think it's like the responsible thing. What are you doing? How do you treat it? Whatever. Like we're talking about in the beginning, it's all about respect. And so if you're in a time where you're not respecting yourself, whatever you're putting into your body probably is going to reflect that too,
And if you're abusing nature, it's going to abuse you back, or anything here.
Totally.
Eventually it's going to hit you back.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I really like to describe the definition of sin as being that which makes you weaker, which means there's not judgment attached to it. The wrath of God is the direct consequences of doing that which nature wouldn't have done, or not the way nature would do it. The consequences are usually pretty immediate, or at least fairly immediate. And that's why I want to put it that way, is because the behavior is its own punishment. When you're doing something that makes yourself weaker, or that you would thus call sinful, it is its own punishment wrapped in. So like, we don't need to add the insult to injury in terms of how we self-talk about it or how we talk to each other about it, and instead just be like, look, we're all painting with the same palette of emotional colors here. We're all actually way more the same than we are different. And one's coping mechanism, it may not be someone else's coping mechanism, but the fact is we're all dealing with psychological dynamics that are cut from the same template. And the interesting thing too about the very powerful psychoactives, I mean, cannabis being more and more powerful all the time, is how the relationship will change in your healing process, because how much it affects you will change. And it has to do with, it's actually always probably been affecting you that strongly, but your level of clarity of awareness has improved because you're holding more of your personal light or pranic energy through your improvement of health or your circulation and currency. And thus the smaller, like for me, if I had even like one tiny psilocybin mushroom, like it tends to it would just send me like way out. Whereas at the time when I ever first encountered that medicine, I was doing like 7 grams sometimes, and I was handling it. And now it's like, it's more intense for me on way less than it was on a lot. And I think that has to do with the fact that there's more, I don't know, there's more energy in the system overall, that you're more aware of the full range of the spectrum of the experience, and you had a narrower bandwidth of perception before. And that's why, all of this was still going on. You're still like in the spirit world after doing some of these psychoactives more obviously and directly, but that should be kept into account, because I don't know, there's a point where maybe you're not using cannabis the way you used to, and you go into do it again, and it's like way stronger, but you don't realize it's because you're healthier, and now your relationship to that plant is like, oh, I can't do that, it makes me trip too hard or freak out. And really, you just need to, it's not that you should always avoid that particular medicine, it's just you need to be aware that the dosage isn't going to be the same for you based on where you're at in your health journey, if you will.
Tools, man. Yeah, they're all tools.
Nice. So this is a good one that occurred to me a couple months ago, and I hope Tippecanoe, I hope you're still listening, brother. The word mushroom contains the word usher. Mushrooms are like ushers, ushering you to the other side.
That's freaking awesome.
Once you get to that other side, once you drive to your destination, you don't need to then bring the car inside and sit in the car and blah blah blah, do everything you're going to do. Like you use your tool to get where you need to be. And now it doesn't make sense, you know, and so I think you're becoming more who you actually are, Chance. I mean, it's funny because I will watch your old videos. They'll pop up on my feed, and I can totally see the, you know, not just because like you don't have posters now and like you look a little different. You look so healthy and put together and just like you look much more in control in a very impressive way, you know, since over the past few years. It's very cool. You know, it's transmutation.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, if I wasn't able to evolve, and it's important to me to be able to set the example of doing the work. Otherwise, talking about this stuff is just a bunch of flapping gums, and that's not. I literally intend for this to be helpful to people. It's not
right.
You know, for many years I was doing this just for that purpose alone, and now I'm able to also make it my livelihood. But I think that makes it better overall. That makes the message stronger and clearer, because ultimately, like, for so long, what I was trying to figure out, the real gem that I was trying to mine out of my guests' minds was like, how did you get to where you're pursuing your purpose as your livelihood and free from other forms of the feeling of like need to survive doing stuff you don't want to do? And nobody could tell me. Nobody could tell me the magic words that then it was like, oh, I get it. Okay, now I can do it. But it feels like that when you can just bring the energy of what that looks like to people, that is what really is the food or the medicine. So I appreciate you saying that. People do say that I look like more manly now.
Yeah, I don't know. You're who you're supposed to be. Like you're you now. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't look like me in my wedding pictures when I was on all the pharmaceutical prescriptions and everything, man. And it's like, it's cool to now I'm becoming who I'm supposed to be. It's really cool, man. It's cool. And doing
you used Ibogaine or Iboga to get off of some of those things, right?
Oh yeah.
I would love to hear more about what that experience is like, because I mean, probably many of us have heard of it and know about it, but we can introduce it conceptually. But the meat that I want to get into is the ramifications for what reality maybe is, or a different perspective on like what life even is, or what we are, based on some of how Ibogaine operates on your psyche and consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about this for hours. I spent
Let's go.
Dude, I spent weeks and months, and sometimes and in different decades in America. Only in there was one section I kept going back to in Croatia, but my point is, you're
saying that you lived other lives for multiple years while on this medicine. And in this reality, it was like a day or two, right?
It's 10 days. And it lasted decades for me. Like and then in some cases I got to see the decade get flipped through like a book, and I got to see it happen in fast motion. But I got all the messages and everything it was showing me. And you know, everyone's trip is very specific to themselves, but mine was just meeting a ton of different people, and usually there were people with drug problems or alcohol problems. And it was always a specific drug for a different decade. And so the first one, dude, it was 1904 when my room completely changed and fell down like pixels, and I was in this new reality. And you're not like in a drug or in a dream where you're just going along with the flow. I looked around and I was like, and I just stopped and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I just time traveled, and I kept walking, and I saw these dudes ahead of me, and they were like waiting for me, and I just started walking up to them. I'm like, because this one dude looked really welcoming. He was like really happy to see me, like really like pleased, like satisfied, like he's been waiting a long fucking time. And he put his arm around me, and he said, "You were born in the slit of a lid in an inkling of time." And then from then on, they started immediately talking to me about time travel, like how they got me there. And, you know, they had a certain technology, and they just needed to wait for me to tap into it to find it. I don't know what they mean, what exact technology it would be, but they explained everything to me, and it was like they told me keep it under wraps. You're supposed to work with us. You're now going to work with us for a little while. I said okay, and they were selling tobacco, and they would like just hit bars every night, and I would go out to the bars with them. And, and I just couldn't fucking believe I would constantly take out my wallet and take the bills out of it because I couldn't believe I had old money in my pocket. Like, and I was trying to take this shit back with me. But anyways, the first, right when I got there, the first lesson was opiates in 1904. So they were like selling at the pharmacy in the city. It was in New York City or some major city. I'm not exactly sure, but they were selling heroin number 4 for $4 in 1904, and it was like a tincture bottle, right? Okay, everything is so real when you're in this state. I got completely confused when I came out of it. When I came out of it, I had just done a ton of shit for years. I wasn't thinking, oh, I took a route from Africa to get off drugs. Like I've been studying drugs for decades at this point with all these different people throughout the decades, and it was all a lesson to show me the failure of allopathy and how nature doesn't have it. And I got to experience like really good experiences living in nature, living in the ground, just doing all these different things. And then I would have extreme Babylonian experiences. And the lesson was always like there's an enemy controlling shit. Don't sign contracts. That was a huge lesson of the trip. Don't sign contracts with Babylon. Not like the signing itself with Babylon, not contracts in general. And I ramble because I could literally just go on and on and on. I have memories.
Yeah, I'm very interested in the details of this. Yeah, like keep going. We're here for it.
Cool. Okay, so 1904 quickly turned into. After I was there for a long period of time, I was with this black dude, this like heavy set black dude, very unhealthy, and he had very bad stomach problems. So I was helping him. I was getting heroin, buying it legally with money from the pharmacy and bringing it to him, and he would sip it. And it would make him feel great, but then he'd always be way worse the next day in terms of his stomach and everything that was going on. I was just watching this dude die basically every day, and I was just trying to help him, survive. And then I became that guy. And then, and I would go in and out of sitting with that guy and then feeling what that dude actually felt like and being him and going home to my wife. And like, I had a family and I almost think like Najla was always there whenever I asked to see her. That is, if I asked to see Najla, and it was never back in time, it was always after she was born. If I was in a decade after she was born, they could bring her out to me. But when I was time traveling, I always had like representations of her. And that's why I think almost like, yeah, man, these are meat suits. It's just like she could have been with me since the beginning of time. Like it's fucking weird because the way that the wife made me feel in the early 1900s, there was just a very something similar. I never saw her face. That's one thing. I never saw that lady's face, but everyone else's face, everyone else's everything. I remembered, man. And over 10 days, I just kept taking it every day. I would wake up and I was like 100 pounds and like just, man, it was just horrible. I was so unhealthy. And I was just like, I got to get off. I want to get off. I can't. I got to make sure I do this now. And so, man, it was just intense. So I kept coming in and out of reality. And then I would go back, and talk to the same people. Once I got to the 50s, I was a pilot, and I was flying back and forth cargo and different things for this company. And I had spent 2 decades. It was the 50s into the late 60s is how long this time travel jump lasted. A lot of it was fast forwarded though, but I got to see it fast forwarded. And I would see all my plane routes and where I went and when I went them and how much time I put into it. And my son was developing a drug problem. But I was always flying. I always had to fly. So it got away from me. And so when I came back and I retired, and that was the whole goal of the 50s and the 60s for me in that character, was I was trying to save as much money as I could to take care of, so they'd be taken care of. But that was my only focus. And now my son had an amphetamine problem, and it was just a fucking wreck. And I got to see how my son got destroyed by amphetamines. I got to watch his brain actually cook and everything. It was really fucked up. And but then it brings you're in and out of seeing these crazy things, but the reality, when I say like I'm in 1904, 1950, 1960s, when you're actually there, you cannot tell the difference. You cannot tell it. And you're sober minded. You're not tripping. You're not like in a psychedelic state. It's just like you and me talking right now. And I love what you said about like, how do you know, questions of reality and stuff. Totally. After I took it and after I did this shit, my life changed irreparably, and I almost wonder if I'm gonna wake up one day, but I don't think so, and I hope not. But I got to be successful by the end of my Iboga dreams. It was in the future, and I got to live a successful life, and I made the right decisions, and I made the right choices, and I didn't sign contracts, and I lost opportunities because of it, and I got to reap the rewards of it. And then when I came out of the trip, those years of all that work putting into a business, all that success built up, didn't even exist, right? So I came back to a reality where I was just with Najla crushing so fucking hard right after. And now I'm back to, we're poor again and we're blah, blah, blah. And I just spent so much time and effort. So that was a huge lesson. However, it taught me to do this shit right, because in the dream you like have the opportunity to do it right. You just have like more opportunities to do so, and you're more aware of it. And man, I've been doing life right since I got out. Since I got out of that trip, that was my first agreement that I made before the trip even started. Was it started, but I mean the visuals weren't there yet, and I was just feeling crazy and everything, and dope sick. And I try to keep it humble. But to me, it was the creator. The creator put his hand down and he had a sword, and he was he was telling me, you're going to watch like everything you've ever done in terms of what you value in the material world fall away, and know that you're never going to have it because you don't really want it. And, it just opens your heart up, man. So, and if I agreed that I would do everything I have to do that is right, and that's not moral relativism, like what everyone thinks they're doing the right thing. That's not true at all. There's a ton of sick fucks that know what they're doing is fucked up. But yeah, man, it just taught me so much, dude, and how to just do life right. It's so simple. It really is simple. Do what's right in the moment. If you don't know what to do to build a business, to know who you're going to become, whether you should take Ibogaine or whatever, just pray that you become who you are. It sounds crazy, but just live your purpose. Know who you are. If you don't know your purpose, you don't know who the fuck you are. And you've got a whole history.
So I want to make a connection, and I'm really excited to maybe be the one to make this connection. It can expand out from here, but what I'm hearing about this experience that you've partaken of and are a part of for others. One of the major ingredients sounds like catharsis.
Say that one more time.
One of the main benefits from Ibogaine trip sounds like catharsis. And I love the word catharsis. it's a hard commodity to sell. People will go out of their way for a sense of catharsis. And now I'm also wondering, is there a phonetic association to the cathars?
You want to know something interesting, Gabriel? I was wondering about the word catharsis, and I wanted to go back and see origins of it. And I didn't get very far in my research, but I hit the 1828 Webster's a while back, and catharsis wasn't a word yet, but they had cathartic, like with the T, cathartic.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And that actually related to like purging your bowels.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Evacuation of the bowels, basically cleansing the bowels.
So that's got an ayahuasca component, right?
I mean, sort of. Yeah. It's like, that is catharsis though, because if you, in the way that we use it now, because if you clean out your insides, then your psyche is going to reflect that. So I found that interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me think of like base chakra stuff too. I mean, if you're evacuating, all the stuff in the lower intestines and things like that, it's totally base root chakra, so just, clearing these levels, each level by level allows you to just continue to ascend and get closer to the person that you truly are. And yeah, you see that reflecting off of people when they've gotten to that point. And I love your story. Thank you for sharing that, man. I love hearing how you said you began to make the correct decision. And you were then, even in this trip, you were like, no, this is the right choice. And it's funny because that started happening to me in dreams, just going to bed, know, over the last, like, I'd say year, I would wake up and be like, oh my God, I like made the right choice. And it was just really interesting to kind of start to see that and how that actually like then folds over into your life. So that's super cool. I'd love to hear more of your stories because
I got so many. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Someone said it right. They said, so it like shows you your potential if you make the right decisions. That's a great way to put it. It shows you your potential, good and bad.
We are now James to the power of 2, and we've also got Elise with us. Elise, what's up?
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Howdy.
Do you guys trip about the fact that you're both named James and you're both doing like extracts and mushroom-based medicines with your wife?
Dude, I'm so stoked. Yeah.
The book of James, bro, is the most like, okay, what is herbalism, right? It's like it's not subjective. Like some shit work. It might be from one person to the next, but some shit works for someone, or it doesn't. And it's just I'm so excited. I lost my train of thought.
Dude, yeah, like it's faith with works,
Yeah.
Like you actually have to apply thyself. And
yeah.
Dude, we really relate to y'all's story because like our whole farming experience has been from poverty to make something and to like produce something of value so that we see improvement in the world. Like, and you get the craziest stories from people, man. I think I kind of think that I'm here for the stories now. It's so funny, man. Like I'm here for the narratives. I'm here for everyone's story because everyone's got such a wonderful story to tell you about their lives. And I'm just excited to be here tonight. Honestly, I was like, let me see if I can stoke the flames a little bit longer because this is awesome.
That's what's up, dude.
Stoke away, brother. I'm stoked.
The book, what I found my train of thought. But the book of James, it's very, it's like do right, be a good person. It's just very basic, it's very just this is what you got to do, So
and then the name James is like in terms of the green language, green speak to it. It would be like Yames or I am S.
Yes.
I am, and S is Hebrew for fire. So you're the one, the being, the fire. You and Aries, me too.
I'm an Aries moon.
Word.
Yeah. James, what are you?
I am a Sag. And like all the way through.
Yeah.
Like we looked up my chart and it's like
Triple?
every single.
Oh,
We
it's
got
everything?
triplicity of fire
Pretty
here
much
with
everything.
with these
Wow.
guys. Aries
Yeah.
Sun, Gabe's a Leo, and a Sag here, triple fire, bringing it. All right.
Shit, that's crazy. That's what's up.
Michelle, you're
Cool.
Capricorn, right?
Yes, Capricorn.
Yep, yep.
Total through and well, I'm not all three of them are Capricorn, but very Capricorny. Taurus moon and Gemini rising. So interesting mix for me.
Elisa, is good to see you as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm so happy to be here.
Nice.
Yeah, she was actually putting the kids down, and
Oh,
and Najla hopped on, and I was like, "Hey, Najla's hopping on." It's like we gotta get on there and talk to everyone.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys did. I'm glad you
Nice.
guys. She'll be back. She'll be back.
Najla's hopping on. It's like we gotta get on.
Oh yeah. Do you guys have the stream playing on your browser? Be aware of that. If anybody's got it playing on another tab, it might echo back in. But you brought up death sitting in the chat there, New James. You want to talk about that, how it relates?
Man, you were speaking about like seeing experience through someone else's eyes, like as you're helping them. But it was like your consciousness is like shifting into their frame. And like, but they're still having like their individuality, but like you're almost peeking in, like you're behind the scenes, like watching the whole thing. And then, but like you're still your subjective self experiencing it as well.
I mean, just think about like, yeah, like almost like body jumping, man, you know, oh yeah, or like I was, yeah, the whole thing is so it's pretty mind melting. I don't usually bring up crazy amount of details to people because most people don't want to hear it. Most people, like I could just be, you know, they think I could be making shit up or something, but I could not make this shit up, you know. But I love it, you know.
I know that kind of stuff happens to people sometimes on powerful psychedelics. So
has that
I have
happened?
No doubt.
Has that happened to you, like while you're tuning someone?
No, but I have like a very clear agreement with the process in terms of, you know, I don't need to go that sympathetic. Like I even specifically agree with my body that I don't want to even feel the you know, because some healers will be like, oh, my stomach hurts now, or whenever they run into energy in a certain place. And I have different, more detached ways of knowing what I'm working with and what I'm dealing with. So I don't blend my energy with their energy. I'm having a conversation, but I'm like, that's kind of how I view it. It's more of a conversation, and my own personal bubble space stays in integrity. I think that's what's so great about that particular modality, those tools, is that, you know, unlike some other forms of energy healing where there is some blending going on, you get to very easily, you can very well like retain your distinctness and your personal boundaries and know what's yours and what's not yours, maybe. But, you know, so each person has their own method when it comes to doing what they can to help. What I'm fascinated with too is how Michelle started to bring up dreams, and to me, and you were calling it Ibogaine dreams.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered about the process of dreaming, and like, you know, whenever you have these strange experiences in a dream where you're going into a world in crisis, where some kind of crisis is what you're dealing with, but it's not your life. You're not the same you, but you know, you're your own, you're the same I am, because there's only one I am in existence. But I wonder sometimes if when you're dreaming, if it's possible to actually become a spiritual guide for another being in another existence or experience, and that your attention being now aligned with the other beings and the other narrative in their consciousness is like a way of, because think about all the times where you hear stories where somebody going through a crisis has whatever reason, they're like, they felt like something helped them, or a guardian angel, or a third man effect. Like literally sometimes people will get pulled out of the way of getting hit by a truck by somebody that there's not actually someone there, but they felt hands on them pulling them away. Or the mom that all of a sudden hulks out and can lift the vehicle to save their child. You know, where's that coming from? And because when you go into the dream, and you're in that crisis, a lot of times those dreams, even though it's a crazy movie, you're not like phased by it. You just do what you got to do. You know, you're just doing what needs to be done. You're on that ride, and there's no like difficulty on the emotional or traumatic level for you. It's almost just like you're adding witness to somebody that needs the extra witness. And I wonder if there are beings dreaming us in our moments where we need help and guidance, where we need extra clarity and cohesion and awareness. And maybe, you know, that's maybe you were doing that for somebody, and the Ibogaine just tuned you in to the being that would be the most perfect fit, where you're going to also benefit from the experience in that witness.
That was beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. You got away with words, Chance, for real.
He does,
Fucking
man.
A,
Oh, it's the inner herbs. It's these. It's this. Thank you,
Oh,
Kyle.
that, bro.
Yeah, that's
Mental
right. Dude, I love
Keep
that
it
you
canoe.
brought that up with the dream thing, because I had a dream last night where I feel like I did this. I feel like I did it for another woman, and it was weird. I was with this lady, and we were at like a restaurant or a bar, and she was writing a letter, and she put it into an envelope, and she wrote somebody's name on it, and she was going back and forth whether or not she should give it to them. And I was almost like just watching her. I wasn't telling her what to do or anything like that. I was watching her do this whole thing. And then she took a red marker and she just put a big X through the front of the envelope where she wrote the name. And I totally somehow acquired the envelope, and I literally delivered it to the man that she wanted to give it to. And I just did it like almost as if I was in third person, like watching it happen. Like the guy, I didn't like give the letter to the guy and say, here, this is for you. I just ended up like leaving it for him, and he got it. And then I watched them have this interaction, and I woke up going, I don't know what that was or whatever, but it felt just kind of like what Chance is saying. I was just like, I feel like I was working through there was something going on where I worked for that woman to get that to her. And she didn't have the courage to give this letter to this man, but I knew that she wanted him to have it. And I don't know, it was really strange. It felt it felt good when I woke up. It didn't feel bad. It felt good. So I think we do these things for
You
sure.
had a purpose in that dream. You had a strong purpose, you know, and it was right there, just shown to you. You know?
Yes.
Man, I can't wait, Gabe, for when we do our Doctor Strange and his evil mom.
Oh shit.
Because there's this thread in that movie of like dream walking where the Scarlet Witch is able to project her consciousness into alternate versions of herself in parallel universes or whatever, and actually become and take over that life. But she was all nefarious with it. But you know, that concept is really wild. And I don't particularly believe in parallel universes. I believe in one reality because that's what's self-evident. However, in terms of all of us sharing the I am, in that way, we're all parallel universes of each other. And perhaps that dream walking concept actually does apply every time that we dream about being somebody other than ourselves.
Right. And, you know, what if you can program somebody else to believe in parallel realities, and thereby they become like a filing cabinet of personas that can come and go, you know, because they believe it's possible. I like, Michelle, in your dream, I like how you became like you're disembodied.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah, in how somehow that disembodiedness kind of fulfills what Chance was saying about the witness.
Yeah, I have dreams like that sometimes where I'm watching them. It's like I'm watching a movie and I'm not even any of the characters.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I feel like we can do this too on other levels, like at least personal experience. One of my favorite things to do with plants is meditate with them, and literally I have the practice of, it's almost like a channeling thing, but having the practice of like going in to the plant and creating this space. And I know that this has been brought up before, but like almost creating like some sort of like sacred space in your mind where you go there only to do this work, only to channel whatever you're doing. So it's almost like you're creating like a sanctuary or something in your mind.
Yeah.
And I always have the practice of like literally going in, and I'm like opening a door with a key, closing the door behind me, locking the door, because you're almost like creating this really sacred hub. And just like going in and thinking of the herb and like literally seeing the herb grow, and then you actually ask for permission to enter the herb. And some of the things that the herbs have shown me, it's the same thing with this dream where it's like I walk into this reality and it's just like, oh my God, this is all happening in this herb at this time where I'm here. And it's just incredible. And I've had like really profound things that have kind of changed my life just from doing that. And I've done it with runes and tarot cards, and it's all there. It's like, I think a lot of it's inside of us too. So I'm always like, step out of this stuff. I'm like, what am I really tapping into? Like, how much of it is already in me? And I'm tapping into it, you know, and I was attracted to do it with this herb or this rune because that's in me somehow or whatever, you know, it trips me out, but super cool.
Super cool. That was great.
Makes me wonder about the sun. Is it dream witnessing everything on the earth? Is that possible to, like, what if you could dream walk to the sun rather than into another human being? Is that what is that what it means to ascend or something? That at that point you could maybe tap into the experience of any experience in the entire realm when you wanted to? Is that within the scope of our abilities, and we've been conditioned to think it isn't? Oh, Najla and baby.
Hey guys, I just had to hop in here. I'm still trying to put her back to sleep, but I love this. This is such a great show. You guys are talking about like multiple, just like different experiences and stuff like that. And I just remind me of like Owen had like this amazing stream about Waitiko. You guys remember? Yeah, and it's just like how you're talking about chance, like sometimes you're like piercing the veil, like, and you really should be careful when you're partaking in certain herbs. And one of the greatest things about like iboga is like everybody's experience is different. Like I haven't heard anybody else have James's experience, but they've had similar experiences. But I've only done like light doses, and you can just tell that there's no way Tico at all. It's so benevolent. It's so good.
That's a great way to explain that.
Okay. You know, I had a friend who had something like that, like what James described, living another lifetime when we were in high school. And I think that it happened on Salvia divinorum, maybe it might have been
Salvia.
It might have been dimethyltryptamine, but I think it was Salvia. But in the case of that guy, he didn't, you know, when you did the iboga and you had the other lifetimes, you knew why you were doing it. And for him, it was like, well, you knew why you were doing the iboga. You know, you had a reason for the iboga, right?
Yes.
And this friend of mine from high school, I assume it was just like, let's get messed up, see what happens. And I'm not blaming it on the substance or that trip, but he did not do well in life after that. And you know, depending on the way you frame your perspective of an experience where you live another lifetime, it could be kind of crushing to come back and be like, what? That wasn't real?
Dude, it was for me when I came out. It was because I had just built up a life with Naj. She was in my dreams. We were working together. We were doing everything, you know, that we're doing now, basically. So yeah, I think
of what Gardner says, frequency is location. Because I feel like one of the things that when I did experiment with psychedelics, I was able to develop was like this heart compass, heart magnet, where I could be in a large place with a lot of people and I can find whoever I am looking for. I just spontaneously pick a direction and walk that way and I can find them.
I think I saw you do that at Flattoberfest last year. I think I saw you like slowly walking, just like well,
it's real. It's a real thing.
I know it's real. I know what you're talking. Go on.
Well, just because like I had experiences on psychedelics where I actually could feel the magnetism between me and the friends or the people I loved that I wanted to be near. And it's very hard to describe, but I could like, I had this homing compass signal and I've retained that. It's not as dramatic in terms of the feeling and the knowing, but now it's led to me to just trust my instinct and intuition and the my intention will be honored, even if I just have to pick a direction and go that way.
Right.
It's going to be the right way.
Right.
And that alleviates a lot of fear and worry about in life. Like, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right way to do it, or whatever? You set your intention and you start doing things and making choices. And if you're authentic with your intention, the reality hologram is going to structure itself around that. And you don't need to worry about the details. There's apparently like spiritual witnesses all around you that are adding energy to the making of details.
100%. 100%. Ibogaine is like a spiritual chiropractor. That's what I like to call it, because it's like you were saying earlier, the body heals itself. So, you need a kickstart almost sometimes, or just a reminder, or a drop of something to signal to your body what it then needs to kick into gear,
And that's why sound is such an awesome modality. You're just you're helping your body see the connections that it didn't have made, for sure.
Sound is vibration. Vibration makes geometric shapes that become fixed in our reality, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. The salvia is intense. And I had a really intense trip on it. And I was in the same mindset, more party mode. So I think it had something to do with that. And this was years ago. But I've heard too that salvia actually doesn't want to be combusted. And a lot of times people smoke it. And I think the traditional way to do it in Mexico is actually making tea with it. And so you're actually like ingesting it in a water, like in water extraction, which made sense to me that it would actually even be more gentle coming from a water perspective. And so perhaps it's more
it'd be extended too. Sorry to interrupt. It'd be extended.
No, you're good. Totally. Because when you do, if you've ever done salvia, it's like, I don't even know how long you're in it, but it feels like you're there for a long time. And then, but the person that's with you is like, oh, you were gone for 5-10 minutes or something like that. At least that was my experience.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I was taken out of this realm and I came like bulldozing in to this one. And I tore down a whole, I had this whole trellis set up and I had all my albums on a shelf next to the trellis. And I came out and I grabbed onto the trellis and I pulled the whole thing down and all my albums went everywhere. And the guy that I was with was just like, oh my God, what just happened? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where I went, but it was
the salvia people, common salvia experiences.
Woo!
Yeah. The one time I did it, I was 17. For some reason, I did that because it was legal in Missouri at the time. So I was like, no, I won't do anything illegal, but they could buy it at head shops. So my friends talked me into doing it. And, basically got attacked by a black upside down triangle that was biting holes out of reality until I fell in a spiral down into what I perceived as hell. And
it sounds like it.
It was like after it kicked, I fell backwards, and my whole trip was within the time frame of me falling backwards to when I hit the floor. And to me, it felt like I was falling down and I was spiraling down to into hell or something, as reality was blacked out by this cookie cutter of an upside down triangle, taking chunks out of it. And my friend said that I kept repeating, it has to be like this. It has to be like this. It has to be like this.
Dark, bro.
And I don't remember saying anything, but it was dark. Salvia is a weird one. Never did it again.
No, salvia, I did a few times, but the time that I did it where it affected me the most, I don't remember exactly what the details were, but I just remember it feeling horrifying. And then I woke up when I came out of, and that's all I remember from the actual trip. When I came out of it, which was maybe 30 seconds, a minute later, reality fades back into view, and I was banging in my room with my friend sitting on my bed, and I was banging on my door that was closed. We went in my room, shut the door, and I was banging on my door saying, I was screaming, let me out, over and over. And he had to calm me down and I don't know. So it was just horrifying. I did not enjoy.
Yeah. These plants have a spirit, and you don't respect them, they don't respect you.
Right. And like you said, combusting it, that could be a disrespect, and maybe not for every strain of it, I don't know, but But that's I like where your head's at with that.
Yeah, I love that idea, Michelle. That's beautiful.
Yeah, super interesting. And actually, I learned it. So Terrence McKenna, his brother, for a handful of years was doing like some book tours or something like that. And we ended up going to see him in Portland. And he actually talked about that whole thing with salvia. And I lit up because I had my experience, and I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense because that shit was crazy. And it makes just hearing these stories gives me a little heart flutter because I'm just like, oh God, I remember.
You know, that even makes me think of, you know, we hear of the legendary alchemist's textbook or grimoire will be filled with booby traps or misdirection. And I wonder if the salvia thing is like one of those that's gone wild throughout history, you know, and just got worse and worse throughout the years. And all along, we're just supposed to drink it.
That's really interesting because my buddy and I have been talking about gatekeepers. And so sometimes relationship to the plant that you have could be a big gatekeeper for you. Can you?
Yeah, elaborate on that, dude.
Am I muted?
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. So a lot of times we can find ourselves trying to free ourselves through some modality, and that modality become the very thing that's holding you is the new pattern of repetition that you've made for yourself, a new behavior. And you identify that with your liberation. And it's just like the ladder. Like you use a ladder to reach a very high place, but to be at that high place, like you have to get off the ladder, you have to stop using the tool.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
But I wondered if y'all had some sort of insight into gatekeepers with your experience with, I don't know, whatever your particular chosen modality is.
Like the idea of the usher for the mushrooms, you know, like does that mean by gatekeeper? Like,
yeah, it could be
like
seen as like a
the
guardian.
threshold shit.
It could be like a guard. Yeah, more like guardian of the threshold stuff. 100%.
Yeah, there could
So
be good
one time
gates to keep, you know.
I think one time I did have an interaction with the guardian of the threshold. I don't know though. There was this time where I did the heroic dose of psilocybin. I blended like 7 grams with orange juice.
Oh no! Wow.
Yeah, by myself in my house, and it was like one of the most complete ego death experiences I ever had.
I'm sure.
I was just closing my eyes, and when I would close my eyes, I would be seeing clearly as if my eyes were open, but in an alien landscape. And it would be an environment that was totally not Earth, right? But it would be a landscape. And I'd be looking around, bewildered, like, wow, where am I? Kind of trying to get the lay of it. And then I would see somebody in the distance just like peeking around a corner at me, like watching me. And as soon as I'd see that guy, whoever he was, my perception would kind of like zoom in towards him, like I was trying to catch him. And then he would peek back around the corner, and then the whole place would just, and I would be transported to a different alien landscape. And I'd be like, whoa. And then I would look around, try to figure out where I was. And eventually I'd see that guy again. And he was just watching me from around some kind of corner. And I'd be like, who is that? Who are you? And then the whole thing would shift again. And I was like playing this hide and seek game with, I don't know who. Yeah, it was weird.
Dude, that was probably me in Colorado. Having my God dose experience.
Yeah, you were told, hey, go keep an eye on Chance. He's you got to go do a guardian situation real quick.
Don't let him wander off.
Just make him feel like he's being watched.
Yeah. I hope people realize we're not here to recommend the substances we're talking about. We're just having fun talking about our life experiences, but
right.
There's great lessons in whatever path we choose through life. The guardian of the threshold, or just gatekeepers concept, though, I like that we got into this because the whole cult of Janus that we see throughout history and still controlling the world is actually designed around the very concept of gatekeeping, of middlemen between you and the source. And on the spiritual level, it's between you and the actual divine source. Like they're the intermediary, they're the substitute Mercury, substitute savior. But then, of course, in all levels of commerce, in what passes for healthcare, in the way that our economies are built, it is designed to do this, profit off of being the guy holding the door open or closed. And what can you get out of the person for the offer to open the door for them to whatever it is? If that makes sense. Like this entire, like the whole purpose of why I would try to help Dylan's work with exposing the universality of mythology and language back to a single cult that is still in operation today is so that we can abrogate the system as it exists in all levels of the fractal, because it does exist in all levels of the fractal. And it deepest, maybe most innate level of the source of this cult is the gate that we're afraid to go through to know ourselves. And that is something that the psychedelics can open the windows to. You will start to get the inkling that like, okay, I'm more than this body and this experience. And there's a lot of value in that. And whatever else, good or bad, comes with the experiences and with people's relationship to these plant medicines, being able to open the window with something like dimethyltryptamine in my life when I have in the past, that state, like I know where that window is now. I can feel the draft through it. And I'm never going to forget that I've touched some sort of puddle of the all, like dip my toes in it and what that felt like. And even though I can't always on a feeling level or experiential level recall or re-embody the sense of the one universal vibration, I still know that I've done it. I still know that it's there. Sometimes I hide myself from the feeling of that primary vibration of logos, because it's scary to know the responsibility of how integral and centered we are in the entirety of cosmos, each and every one of us being the tent pole or the axis mundi of all. And it's, that's the real gate that is fractally across the rest of the superstructure of life, causing the gatekeeping in every other area of life, of keeping us from the source of where our food comes from. Most people don't know the source of what health is, the source of, go on ad infinitum, gatekeepers and middlemen across the spectrum. And a issue with truth community that I see is that, like Owen says a lot, 80% blaming others for their problems, 20% doing something productive or constructive. And it needs to be flipped, or just full bore 100% doing the thing. Because and that's why I love the message of grow your own food, make your own medicine, all that, because that is a step in the opening of the door or opening of the gate to know thyself or know the source. You know where that food came from, and you are what you eat. So if you're following that path, it's only logical and only inevitable that other gates will also be open and other middlemen will have to quit their job and they can't hold back from source of anything anymore, because that is the true power of the all.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
What was the most famous line that the caterpillar said? The caterpillar.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Yes. Fucking A, dude. Right there. That's beautiful. Chance says things so perfectly. It's like hard to comment after him sometimes.
You guys are awesome at articulating too. You guys are great. We're all
I
good
have
at
my
it.
okay. I'm okay on certain days. You know.
We need to get you a Nerf microphone so you can just fucking slam it.
That'll be awesome.
BRB potty break.
Anybody got questions for James in the chat, or anybody got questions for anybody in here? Either James or, I honestly want to hear more from you, Elise. We haven't heard a lot out of you yet. I'm excited. We're going to have a full-blown InnerVerse interview with you soon, but we won't blow the lid on any of that. Spill the beans. I'm sorry, man. I'm hearing people say spill the beans everywhere. Owen's right about that, by the way. So yeah, Elise, how are you doing? Tell us, introduce yourself to the people here a little bit.
Hey guys, I am
I really wonder, like, how's your ear and head stuff since we hung out?
I think I'm figuring it out. Like,
Cool.
do you know about German New Medicine? Does anyone here know about German New Medicine? Okay. Yeah.
No, of
and
it.
so that came into my field, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago. And it's just about the ailments in your body are tied to some sort of trauma. And I'm playing with that idea and just sitting with it, really. Like, it was very funny. Before we went to the festival, I went to the ENT. So I had this crazy ear infection after I gave birth. I had a wonderful home birth, and it was a free birth with just James and I. And then 2 days later, the left side of my face went completely paralyzed. And I had an ear infection that spread to the nerve in my face. And I had to get a tube put in my ear. I had to get put on antibiotics and a steroid. And I had been doing holistic things the whole time. I had this ear infection because I was pregnant, and I was like, it's an ear infection. I don't know, it'll go away. And it did not go away. And I got an emergency CAT scan to make sure it didn't spread to my brain. And I had to dump all my colostrum. But I had milk from a friend that she gave me. So whenever Chance did the tuning session on me, I heard it, like I felt it most in my ear. And it was the loudest in my ear. And he was like, all right, I'm going to work up here. And I told him about my ear infection. And
at that festival, I developed this new method where usually in like a full-blown hour session, I'll get the dowsing rods out and check in detail for every energy center of the body and see the left-right balance and relative openness of them. But I figured out that at this Bertaria event, that if I just take the big G fork, I'm sure it would work with any fork, and I hit it and I just scan up and down their body slowly, whenever I hit the spot that their body wants me to work on, my ears pop. And I was doing that for everybody, as I was just like looking for the one spot to target. And I was like, I bet I'll get the signal in just one spot if that's what I ask for. So now basically I could, if I wanted to, ditch the dowsing rods and do the exact same type of diagnostics with the tuning fork, which I always knew I could, but it was cool. It's amazing how the forks respond to intention so powerfully. And that third eye ish region, probably like a third eye to throat overlap there, was what was popping off. And maybe we should do a little extra tune of that spot before we talk the next time, just so that like it really launches some mega flow state. Because we're going to talk more in detail about that situation and in home birth. That's really exciting. I know James and Nalja have a lot to say about the DIY approach to giving birth rather than the hospital.
We got stories.
It's a different it's a psychedelic experience. Women are initiated this way, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
I almost don't want to even spill the beans on this story because it's going to be so good when we get into it in depth.
Very excited.
I appreciate you sharing your story about the ear and stuff. Have you heard of the concept that the left side of the body is the feminine side, like the mothering side? Yeah.
Yes.
super interesting. And I've
Yeah.
also tripped out on thinking about the idea that when you give birth to a child, you're giving birth to your shadow. And so the child is actually here to like bring out these elements of you so you can actually further heal those shadow sides, those shadow parts of yourself. So it's always funny, like when, you know, your mom is like, oh man, you were this and that. And then a lot of times you'll hear that when you have a baby, your child brings out those things that you gave your mom hell for or something, or vice versa. So I think it's like an interesting thing to think about. I don't know. That's like, yeah, it's cool. You found
Shadow
herbal
children
medicine.
coming to a theater near you.
I mean, it's not even to be like, you know, whatever, negative or something, because that's beautiful. You know, if we have extra ways to work with our shadows, I think that's one of the reasons why we're all here in the 3D, is to literally work through your shadows so that you can become the best version of yourself. And then I think that might have something to do with reincarnation, whether you stay here or you come back or you ascend to the next level or whatever happens. You know, it's all like, how much work did you do, or were you able to do? Were you capable of doing? It's one of the things I try and remind myself of like, when somebody maybe does me wrong, or I see somebody do something where I'm like, whoa, I often have to remind myself of like, this is the best they can do right now. They're doing the best they can right now. And so am I. So I might do something that is weird or whatever. And it's like, well, it's the best I can do right now, because it's like what I know. It's like how far I've come. And I think German New Medicine helps us to understand that stuff. And then if Rachel's in the chat, she can totally chime in on this one. But she introduced me to holographic blood. I don't know if you've heard of that. A guy named Harvey Bigelson. He it's very linked to a GNM, but the fact that like our traumas are stored in our body in like scar tissue and things like that. So like they will literally take like MRIs of the area where you might have like scar tissue or whatever due to a trauma that happened, and like that could be the source or the place where like a cancer shows up or something like that, or any kind of terminal chronic illness. And it's all in our body. Like we're storing all this stuff, just like GNM when you store it in your brain, like doing these CAT scans of the brain, and they can actually see the spot, the area where that trauma hit. And
by scanning the biofield, the energy field around the body, you actually can pick up those spots before they might develop into actual scars or actual injuries.
Yeah,
which is interesting too, because I think they start in the energy field, which is also the memory and emotion field, before they start really imprinting on the body. The imprinting on the body, or the actual dramatic event of an accident, an injury, or a big crisis illness, tends to be, you know, after the emotion and the belief about the self, the mental component, not before. I think there could be exceptions to that rule, but that's my experience with it.
Yeah, I had this idea of muscle memory where like and I found it through doing yoga and just stretching. Like you stretch a place and something pops into your mind and it's like, oh, it's a muscle memory. Here is where I was storing this thing that happened to me, or this thought, or this idea of myself. And whenever you work it out in the body, you're able to work it out inside of your mind.
It's so true. And that's the actual key to health, is that you keep that flow, and you don't have kinks that you're ignoring and letting go longer and longer and ignoring longer and longer. You know, most people's mindset in today's society is that they're putting off going to the doctor about a bunch of things that they know about that are going weird or going wrong, and they're just putting it off and putting it off. But really, that's actually like 10 steps behind. That's already like 10 steps too far. If you're at the point where you're like, man, I should go to the doctor about this, that addressing it way earlier with preventative movement is so key, so clutch. And like when you get really into the consistency of the practice, because that release has already been regular in terms of your energy field flow, valves being opened, and you're priming the pump all the time, that typically, like after you get to a certain point of doing the work, it really is more like maintenance. You're not running into deep traumas or weird memories very often. You're just doing an enjoyable, peaceful flow through your movement practice. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but just like we can self-regulate these things so easily, but it's just about I think consistency is so key. And like you could go a long time without polishing your energy field, if you will, but man, these practices like the qigong and the yoga, these somatic practices, the impact they have on the psyche is beyond our ability to really comprehend in our limited conscious awareness of what we can see one thing at a time. And we we can do so well for ourselves with very simple daily rituals. And a big part of the chain that keeps people from it is that gatekeeping on yourself about this belief of time. I don't have time. Make time. You're the origin of time. You make time.
One of my favorite times to reset is to eat some cubensis mushrooms and to just roll my feet out. Like we have this small ball that's maybe about that big, and it's got it's like silicone rubber spikes on it, and it's just so great. You can pinpoint these different parts in your feet, and you feel like you're flipping breakers in your brain. I mean, it's phenomenal. And it's a great way to get in touch with your body and just like share gratitude for those parts of yourself that are still there, but like you may feel are slightly turned off for whatever reason. Like it feels like an area of numbness. Like I do a lot of abdominal massage, and there's like areas of numbness and tightness. And one of the troubles of the Western man is that they're so tight in their abdomen, like they're bracing to be punched. And it's just this psychosomatic response for the way that we interact with one another. There's like this. It's supposed to be playful, but there's also like low blows that people do to one another to like get that sort of energetic tightening and that response from people. And it's like this. I guess like Terrence McKenna would say, it's like the going into like a dominance hierarchy for control, just in that fleeting situation. But it's like kids doing it just to know that they pressed the button.
Oh yeah, it's literally no different than your dog pushing the boundaries to see how much you're paying attention. You know, energy's always doing that. Think about any pressure differential of like one vessel holding water and another vessel holding water. If there's some sort of discrepancy in the energy levels, higher pressure, lower pressure differential, dynamic disequilibrium, one side's going to try to flow to the other side if there's a crack, or vice versa. It's just like, so, you know, your maintenance of your own field and your own boundaries, it should be and can be a constant thing, but it's not. When I say constant thing, it's not like it's hard work. It's once you have achieved a level of balance, then the flow state kicks in, and there's some help with that. But I wanted to point out too what you said about the feet being really profound, because if people like the feet contain the information of the whole rest of the field. They're this awesome fractal microcosm, and you can look up a reflexology chart of your feet if you wanted to, and you could massage points of the feet that pertain to certain organs. Like I've had problems in my life with constriction, solar plexus constriction, not being able to take as full deep breaths as I would like. And I use the weighted tuning fork on the reflexology point of the feet pertaining to lungs and heart and chest. And I can, within moments, I can feel deeper, bigger breathing. And it's like a lot of just missing knowledge for people, the user manual of how the body electric really functions, that there are meridians that you can tap into to improve electrical function of certain organs. Like I probably have told people this one before, but it's a super simple one. The middle finger is the exit point, if you will, or like one of the endpoints of the meridian that goes through the lungs. And if you put your two middle fingertips together, so like the mudra, if you will, I don't think this is truly like a yogic or Hindu mudra, but if you put your your index finger and thumb together, make a little circle on both hands, and then touch the tips of your middle fingers together and just hold that at about like solar plexus level and take some deep breaths. You can center yourself, open up solar plexus and heart chakra, take deeper breaths than before within moments by connecting this electrical circuit. It's literally like circuitry.
Yo, I just tried it. There's something to that for sure.
Yeah. Like where's the owner manual for these bodies? There's so many cool tricks.
Yeah, my hands are starting to feel like they become one. Like they're one thing. That's really cool.
Nipple glasses, Moondra, says Andrea.
Nice.
That's funny.
I
Yeah.
love you, Andrea.
She's hilarious. Guys, we have any questions for James to flow into as we get closer to the end of our beautiful time here tonight? Other James, or either James, either or. But our main James, our first James for tonight. Man, I'd love to have you back. I know that much. And I'll happily ask a question before we go. Yeah, what question do I want? Okay, so a lot of these would actually blow us into some big places, but can you talk about the community that you found through pursuing this passion to take care of yourself and your family?
Yeah, sure. So Nigel and I became part of the Unbearables, Owen Benjamin, and everything that he's been got going on since the beginning. We were at the Saranac Lake show, and yeah, it was just cool to see someone authentic, inspiring people to just, what we've all heard a million times: don't watch porn, be a good person, just do what's right, live morally, be a good man, take care of your family. It's so basic, but none of us were being fed that, even from our own parents, like a lot of us, So yeah, coming across someone like that, and all conspiracy theorists are always like, man, we need a whistleblower, blah, 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 and then they get killed or whatever. So, it's always exciting when an alive person who's authentic actually has some shit to say,
Honestly, I'm sus of even that narrative that the whistleblower gets killed. I wonder.
100%. I'm sus about all of it, 100%. They want you to think that so you don't blow the whistles,
I'm pretty radical. I have this conspiracy theory that they can't even kill you unless you consent.
Dude, we could go on about that.
And in believing it, being afraid that it could happen constitutes consent through belief.
Yes, dude. Yes, bro. You are so fucking on point, man. You're like crushing tonight, bro. You should call this InnerVerse with Chance Garden, guest Chance Garden.
It's the herbs. It's the inner herbs. I'm telling you.
It's that too. Guest
got me all
herbs.
lit. Yeah, thank you, Kyle.
I want to try that, man. That sounds great.
I hope that he starts that as a actual product line, because it's pretty freaking great. So Cody says it right here. I have no belief they can kill me or anyone else unless I ask for it. And I think that's part of why we're so flooded with the war, death, murder. That's why the news is always about who shot who at a gas station. And when you think about it, yeah, people, you may even know someone who got killed by somebody, but did they, you never know. Did they live in a world where their belief structure was that they could get murdered by somebody at any time? I don't know. There's a lot of contracts involved with Babylon that are subtle. A lot of the contracts with Babylon are not written on paper. They're written here.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I know the wrong thing can't happen. So there's no point in being afraid of it anyway. Do the right thing.
Yes. That's it. Do the right thing, man.
Really I love that about Owen too. I'm pretty into his streams. I catch most of it.
When he started breaking down tax write-offs and like starting a business and the whole world's going to shit, he just made it very clear for a lot of people, like, they're not playing by the rules. They don't even have the right rules. That this is the rule, but morality, truth. That's empowering, you know. And one day he was just like, you know, start a business. We need to start outsourcing. I mean, not outsourcing. We need to start doing, you know, just the bear economy and everyone, you know, working off each other and supporting each other. And, you know, he's like, worry about the legalities later. Just do it. And that, man, that just like right there, I was like, oh, okay. And like, and I was like, that's a great idea. Like, fuck it. That, you know, we weren't even sure if, you know, the way things were looking at the end of 2019 before all the bullshit's like, it was looking super apocalyptic. So I don't know. You just realize they threw out the rule book, and it's cool because it wasn't even the real rule book. And now we have it, you know.
That's a good way to put it. James, where are you? You're stateside, right?
Where am I? I'm South Carolina, closer to North Carolina.
Oh, okay. All right. I lived in Charleston for a couple of years.
We're in Spartanburg.
All right. Nice.
Man, you're literally in the spot where Flattoberfest is. That's pretty dope.
I'm like a couple minutes away. Yeah, dude.
Great
Dang.
answers there.
I came to Flattoberfest last year and was like, we should just stay here, you know. So we moved in like May or something, May or June from New
I
York.
would be there if I wasn't doing music in Sky. I totally would.
Bro.
But they're kind of conflicting.
I know. I heard you talking about that. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
That'll be
Everything's
awesome.
Great. Yeah. I just hope Baldy knows that I really hope he comes to visit me on his way back across the states. That'll help soften the blow of not going to Flattoberfest.
I have a good feeling about it. He said he's got to make a lot of stops. So,
well, I love getting my foot in the door further with bears and the bear community because I have a really strong vision for exposing them to the power of sound as a healing modality. Like, yeah, I would love to have bears as clients for me personally, and please hit me up if you want to do a session. But it's something I was able to teach myself. I don't see why more bears couldn't be picking up forks, and one more strategy to, at the very least, like, you know, use on yourself, use for your family. I think part of what helps me with eloquence is tuning my own throat on a pretty regular basis, at least every other day or every couple of days. And like working on the audiobook, I freaking have to, so that I can enunciate clearly weird words.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have a strong vision of more people picking up that modality because it's so, like, talk about inexpensive. You know, I can't afford expensive medicines or prescriptions or health insurance or things like that, but you only need to buy the tuning forks once, and they don't even cost that much. You could just buy one fork. Honestly, you could do like everything you needed to do with one fork if you really wanted to. So I hope a lot more bears get turned on to that information, and I'm going to do my best to get it to them. So, you know, if you're out there connected to that community, share some of this content around to them, because I know that we're all part of the same soul group mission for sure. I mean, heck, I'm an hour away from the Beartaria campgrounds that they're cooking up. It's so cool.
Yeah, man.
Michelle, you got any closing thoughts for us? Thanks for hanging out with us, by the way. Love seeing you again.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I was very stoked to get the link. Just happy to be here with everybody. Nice to meet you guys. Family fungi. I've kind of gotten to tune into the last Vibe Rant and stuff. So it's nice to see just like people coming together. And I've been so stoked to just see this wave of more herbalism, natural healing modalities coming through this network, because a lot of people are just hungry for this knowledge and thirsty and wanting to know that, you know, they can heal themselves and our bodies are built to freaking heal. And once you just start tuning into that and you have something that comes up, it just becomes so clear that we are capable of healing ourselves and our bodies want us to heal. So, closing thoughts. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Thanks to James for sharing your stories. And I look forward to hearing more, because I'm super intrigued by all this stuff, especially just the idea of, you know, I love that you guys are doing the addiction consultations. I think
Yeah.
that's freaking killer. And I haven't heard anybody doing that, especially on an herbal level. So I wish you guys the best doing that, because
Thank you.
people who are really down to do it and want to change, I have a strong feeling that you and your wife will be able to bring that change for them.
Maybe we already have, but I will say
Right.
this. Don't reach out to me on behalf of other people. If they won't reach out, it's not the time. It's not the time. When they're looking and seeking and they want to know how they can reach out, then that's okay. But I can't tell you how many people reach out to me and say, "Oh my gosh, I need to get you on the phone so you can talk to this person." If they just heard you, say your whole 2-hour Crow episode again, they would be totally, I'm like, no. If they're not seeking me, not me, but if they're not seeking me out personally, then I just think it's a good thing to put out there. Just, and it takes a lot of relief off people's shoulders. It is not your responsibility to straighten someone else's life out, so we can help, we can be there, we can offer things, but we just hope people do the right thing, for them.
Yes,
For everyone.
I agree.
So Michelle's wonderful work is found at michelleshealinghome.com. You can find it on YouTube. And James, his link has been on his name tag here the whole time, groundedextracts.com.
Free promotion.
And James and Elise, they're familyfungi.com. You guys know them, love them. Other James has been on a recent InnerVerse and Vibe Rant. All of you, hope you know how much I truly appreciate and care for you, and it's so much fun to be here with you all. And of course, Slick Dissident on YouTube, not forgetting you, buddy. Always with the beautiful, beautiful syncretism work. So just so you're aware, any Vibe Rant that you want to call in on or throw your 2 cents into hat in the ring or whatever, let me know in some form or another, even if we're already mid-show. Once a Vibe Ranter, you're quite welcome back.
Cool.
To, whatever degree you'd like. So I love that aspect of this particular show in the community, and I'm really, really grateful to be connected with all of you. And thanks for listening. Family Fungi friends, you guys got any closing thoughts before we close up shop here?
Great weaves. Thank you, everyone. James, thank you for what y'all are doing. That's awesome work, brother. Like, we have to have good people stewarding the medicine and not just trying to lead people astray or have other people lead people to you. It's like you said, if it's not their time, they're not going to seek it out. Like, each person that works with a medicine long enough becomes masterful with it. And the people that need to seek medicine from someone that's masterful will come on their own accord, and it'll find them in a synchronicity, in an episode of something that their friends sent them. Like, they went down the rabbit hole looking into you and everything that your family's doing. And so I pray for your success, and keep crushing, dude.
Thank you so much.
And you have a really awesome beard.
Yeah, really
Super nice beard.
You guys are too kind, man. You're making me feel weird. You guys are very nice. Thank you. It means the world to me. I didn't, in New York, we didn't have, we never hung out with people, because everyone, it's like spiritually post-apocalyptic, and we didn't even realize it until, we leave the state and stuff, because you forget, you get immersed in it. So it's just a pleasure to meet you guys and talk with you guys and know that I'm part of a community that cares for one another, and that's everything. That's literally everything to me and to life. So yeah, thank you guys. Do what's right, do the right thing, and thank you for having me on. And I love all y'all. If y'all ever want to talk or hang out, reach out.
This is like not a can of worms to open right now, but maybe a topic for a future conversation.
Maybe
But apparently there's a male friendship recession right now in the world.
I just heard Owen go gay.
Yeah, no, like that's just what that's what the mainstream is saying, that there's like that men are having fewer and fewer friendships, and
Yeah, they could have workshopped that title a little bit better though.
it is gay, but this is just like the things that you sometimes see on Instagram. But I point that out because I appreciate this community. You all are my best friends, and I really am grateful. So we'll catch you all on a future Vibe Rant. Got a very heady InnerVerse coming up soon. Much love to everybody out there, and we'll catch you on the flip.